can't give them an inch, or you don't give them a millimeter, because they're not going to stop there. No. So you put your foot down and you say, no, absolutely not.
That this is an attack on your freedom, it's an attack on your constitutional right, and it ultimately needs to be stopped.
Hey guys, how's it going? So the Michigan legislature just came back from spring break today and went back into session, and gun control is right at the top of the list of their priorities. Mainly right now, red flag laws, which have passed the Senate but have not been voted on, nor have they passed the House. Now the House Judiciary Committee did vote on party lines today to pass red flag laws. So this is an urgent call to action. Call your state reps. The switchboard number is 517-373-0135 and urge them to vote no on House Bills 4145 through 4148, as well as Senate Bills 83 through 86. So the video I'm about to show you, I recorded a couple weeks ago with two Michigan state representatives, Jamie Thompson and Jamie Green. I think it was an excellent video. I think you'll all enjoy it. I just want to give you a couple real quick updates though. So today they went into session, the House, and they did not vote on these red flag bills. There's a couple reasons why, including the fact that one of the Democrats, Representative Edwards, now appears to be undecided. The Democrats hold a very narrow majority in the House. So one, even better yet, two Democrats, if they decide to defect and vote against red flag, this could be stopped. So this is literally an urgent call to action to call, write, share this video with all of your friends, people who love the Second Amendment and love the right to keep and bear arms in Michigan, because these are red flag laws. They call it takes the guns first, then due process, which is no due process at all. And not only does this violate the Second Amendment, but violates nearly half the Bill of Rights and the 14th Amendment. There's another breaking story, and I'm going to put that in a separate video tonight, so stay tuned on this channel, that's showing that there could be a small little split and concerns over how red flag laws could affect the minority communities in Michigan, and this is something that the Dems are worried about. I'd like to send a very special thanks to Brendan from Great Lakes Gun Rights, who's been sending me updates this afternoon while things are going on in Lansing, so I could get this information to you guys as soon as possible. Information for Great Lakes Gun Rights is also going to be down in the description of this video. Now, join me in Lansing with the two representatives, Jamie Thompson and Jamie Green, and I think we had a good conversation about why red flag laws are so bad. Representative Green, you mentioned like throwing the red flag up to alert people. Speaking of red flags, that's another one of the hot topics here right now in Lansing.
It is. Oh my goodness. It's such a tragedy, because you are giving power to people and then you are circumventing due process. We have very specific processes that people, because you are of course innocent until proven guilty, and so you need to follow the due process. And we actually have a system in place already. The PPO is actually really kind of, or I don't want to call it a red flag law, but you can ex parte. If I feel my life is being threatened, I will go and file a PPO. And there is a checkbox there for requesting ex parte, and the judge will make a determination. Should I remove these guns immediately? Yes or no? Usually they don't, unless it's a life-threatening thing, which it can be, but you know, they use their discretion, the history of the police, and then they go through a proper hearing. So we actually already have this process in place. And we have so many laws in place that we aren't even following. I even talked to my prosecutor and he's like, no, Jamie, we don't need any more laws. We need to follow the ones and be tough on crime, tough on people who are doing wrong, so that they are held accountable and not preventing law-abiding citizens, because that is what's going to happen. This is going to have law-abiding citizens from having firearms. And then it also pits neighbor against neighbor. Correct. See, I get ticked at Jamie, which I wouldn't, because I love her. But I get upset with her. I could then go file something. She should have her guns taken away. From my understanding, then they can immediately take her guns away unjustifiably. With a PPO, she would have had to make a threat. There's a track record, a paper record of following that And due process then takes place. We cannot remove due process.
I agree with you, and I'm sitting in the middle of these two for a reason, so that if they get mad at each other,
No, we love each other.
which they won't. So you brought up something in the past that I think needs talked about more too. So they want to come in and it's called take the guns first, then due process. That's an oxymoron because that's not what due process is.
Correct.
But they just want to take these inanimate objects that are neither good nor evil, they're just objects. But I don't see anything in these red flag laws that they have, 22 pages now with the new Senate substitute. It doesn't talk about actually doing anything to help the person.
100%, and that's something that it was reiterated to me when I listened to John Lott's testimony at the judiciary hearing, because he said we now have the ability, right now in law, to petition a loved one who is deemed to be of danger to himself or to someone else. So you can have someone committed as a family member, a spouse, a child, a parent. You can do that. If you go in and you take away their gun, there's nothing in the legislation that actually gets them the help that they need, if we're doing it for that reason. And this is what they like to do, they like to say, we have this terrible mental health crisis and people that are mentally unstable cannot have weapons because we have all these mass shootings and it's uniquely specific to America. And that's all you hear and it's crammed down your throat. That is a false narrative that is being spread at vomit levels that we need to stop spreading. And if that's the reason that they're taking the firearms from people so that they don't harm them or harm themselves, they're just leaving that person there to do what?
Right.
Let's really talk about it. How many people hang themselves when they commit suicide? How many people turn their car on in a garage? How many people could take a knife and stab a loved one? How many people could hurt a child? If people are truly mentally unstable and you're taking that firearm from them,
they're going to take anything. This chair could be a weapon.
Take anything.
My pencil.
Exactly.
Anything turns
and then
into a weapon.
The opposite side will tell you, well, we know, and that came out in the hearings too, we know that this isn't going to solve the problem, but this is a step in the right direction. You're putting the cart before the horse, like they always do. Mm-hmm. You're not actually solving the problem. You are creating a new problem where there isn't a problem. And this whole concept of this is unique to America is very angering to me because, again, going back to that, where I listened to John Lott, I have never read his book like you did. I never really followed him. And he's a very educated man. And the reason they're saying that these mass shootings are so unique to America because they're labeling every gun fight that happens within gangs in California and Chicago and downtown Detroit. And if it's more than 3 to 4 people, it's now a mass shooting. Yeah. So they have all these numbers that are inaccurate and they're telling Americans that this is happening everywhere. I can say that there has been some that have come out recently, but you also got to remember that you've got a lot of people that just came out of a pandemic that have a lot of mental health crisis with everything that's happened in our country and our state financially, emotionally. And then you have families that are being torn apart and broken apart and you're not working on what's going on in their families. And yes, we have had some very terrible, horrible tragedies happen. But this is not unique to America. And this is stop the rhetoric.
Well, and also, you're right, it's not unique to America, but at the same, so shifting a little bit, that you talk about Detroit, there's almost a homicide every single day in Detroit. Mm-hmm. So, and it's usually done with somebody who obtained a gun illegally.
Yeah, I would.
But then I'm very curious, as all those people in Detroit, do they want their right to be able to protect themselves? So I'm a small-framed woman. There is no way, Micah, I'm going to stop a man like Micah from hurting me. And actually, I have been held up at gunpoint. And yeah, I have been held up at gunpoint. Wow. And I mean, I was in a different state, so obviously I couldn't carry there. But what is then the stopper? What is the stopper? How am I able to defend myself? And even these folks who support Ukraine, guess who's fighting the war in Ukraine? It's the citizens
with guns.
Who had guns that were able to defend themselves, defend their rights, and defend their property, and now to defend their country. And they were counting, the Ukrainian government was counting on it. And if they say that's not going to come to America, well, that's how our country got started. My ancestor, John Hubble, was one of those men who fought in the Revolutionary War with his rifles that he had in his personal possession and he was a prisoner of war. I mean, we could talk hours on this, but there's always the principle of what our country was founded on, why we have that shall not be infringed was very specific for a reason.
Not on any other, statement or bill within the Bill of Rights.
And then
That
look
one
at,
alone.
and you talked about defending our state of Michigan. Look at the Michigan state constitution. Every man has the right to keep arms in defense of himself and the state.
Yes.
So it's to protect yourself every day. Like when you have the gun pulled on you, someone twice your size tried to accost you. It's also to protect against a tyrannical government. If your government were to come and try to take you over, or an invading military or a force that would come to try to take us over. And I would know, they want to take the guns with these red flag laws. However, the most recent FBI statistics, so let's use government stats for these big government people, more people are killed with hands and feet every year than what the other side labels as assault rifles.
That is true, because I guess any person with a black belt is an assault weapon.
Yes.
Yes, and you can go on with it, and that's why I
You
wonder.
can point your finger at somebody like you're holding a weapon, and you can be charged with,
You can be charged, and like a rock, a little stone you could pick up off the ground was the first murder weapon that we know of in this world.
That's true.
So when they're
Illegal.
yes, so when we're coming after just guns, but not doing anything to talk about the person's mental health, maybe get the person isolated from the people they're trying to hurt.
stop the crime.
It looks like a gun grab, is what it looks like, more than anything else.
Well, and especially the long list of bills that have been presented to us is certainly absolutely a gun grab. The ultimate goal is they do not want anybody to own a firearm.
Which affects hunters.
Oh yeah,
tremendously and hunting
it's
families.
so much, but that's
And
the
we have
ultimate
a
goal.
lot of wilderness and
Yes, we do.
nature here in Michigan. We are a hunting state, and they are tearing that down.
And I'm hoping that all of the hunters will become aware of this that's going on.
Yeah. There's a
Even
lot of-
just freedom-loving people who don't even own firearms should know
Yeah.
that this is an attack on your freedom, it's an attack on your constitutional right, and it ultimately needs to be stopped.
I agree with you. If you look at the Bill of Rights as like a brick wall, you might love the First Amendment. You might like the Third Amendment because you don't want a soldier quartered in your home. But you can't just take the one brick you don't like, the Second Amendment, out and then not expect all of that whole wall to crumble down.
Yep.
And I'd like to encourage people to think about that.
Unfortunately, when people are radical and they're doing things out of the normal thought processes, we can't give them an inch, or you don't give them a millimeter, because they're not going to stop there.
Nope.
So you put your foot down and you say, no, absolutely not. And I don't want to hear, well, it's just a little bit, and
Yeah.
we'll just give a little
I
bit, and
agree.
we'll just bend, and we are a 50-50 state, and we do need to, come together, and let's negotiate a little bit. No, absolutely not. We
Shall
don't.
not be infringed.
So
Unless you
I,
want to change the Constitution.
Right. Good luck with that, because
Right.
maybe they'll do that next.
So don't give them any
I don't know.
ideas.
Did you
Please don't
see
give
any of
them
the
any
bills coming
ideas.
through this week? They're
Yes.
absolutely insane.
well, I certainly appreciate both of you holding the line. I think it's important for all of my viewers to, look, condemn the ones that need condemned, complain to the ones that need complained to, but we need to stand up for ladies like these two and all of the fighters within the House in Michigan. So.
When we have, I will notice, and I know that you're touching just on Second Amendment, and that's your one issue, and that's important to stick to, because that's how you get things accomplished. But just to throw out today, we have, a big issue in Michigan with the right to work being repealed. We have, today, the unions came in droves outside of the Capitol, and then you have a handful of people that actually showed up to support right to work, which was Americans for Prosperity, and there wasn't a bunch of them.
Well,
I
and
feel
that's
like-
because they're all working.
Okay, because I feel like every time there is something going on, we get a handful of conservatives or people that are passionate from our side to show up, and then the other ones just get every.
Right. Well, because they have jobs. They have to work. They have to support their family, and they need to pay for these high taxes and high inflation.
That's a very good point.
I'm just saying.
Well, support these ladies and all of the freedom fighters here in Lansing, because they do need your support, and we want to keep the good ones around. So.
In your prayers.
Yes, and your prayers too.
In your
Thank you.
prayers.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
And have a good one.